Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating paradox. We're going to explore exactly why highly intelligent minds, the very people who often have the absolute most to offer the world, frequently end up choosing isolation over social connection. It's a pattern that has literally puzzled people for generations. You see, the more intelligent a person becomes, the harder it often is for them to deeply connect with the world around them.
If you look back through history, this pattern is absolutely undeniable. Take Nikola Tesla, for instance. The guy spent endless hours working completely alone. And for him, solitude wasn't a punishment. He fundamentally believed it was a strict requirement to strengthen his creativity. He viewed isolation as a vital tool, the necessary environment for his mind to truly operate at its peak.
Then you've got Isaac Newton. He famously isolated himself for years while completely removed from society during the plague. But he wasn't just sitting around passing the time, right? He was developing revolutionary theories that quite literally changed the course of human history. That intense physical and psychological distance was the fertile ground for his genius.
And of course, Albert Einstein. Arguably one of the greatest minds ever, he frequently distanced himself from the crowds and the rigid social expectations of his time. Here was a man who deeply understood the universe, yet he often struggled with the lonely reality of finding peers who actually understood him. So the big question we really have to ask ourselves here is, well, why? Why do these brilliant minds slowly pull away from crowds, from relationships, and sometimes even from their own close friendships? Why does solitude become their ultimate comfort zone?
Section 1. Craving depth over noise. Think about your average daily conversation. It usually revolves around pretty shallow stuff, right? Entertainment, the latest gossip, and chasing social approval. But highly intelligent minds, they're just wired differently. They don't just listen to the words being said. They're actively analyzing behaviors, emotions, underlying patterns, and intentions. Because they observe so much more than they speak, they quickly come to a rather painful realization. A whole lot of social interaction is really just surface-level noise.
Now, there is some absolutely fascinating data from the British Journal of Psychology that backs this all up. For most folks, hanging out and socializing a lot actually boosts their life satisfaction. They genuinely feel happier. But for highly intelligent individuals, it's the exact opposite. A high frequency of socialization actually results in a negative impact. It lowers their life satisfaction. Simply put, the smarter a person becomes, the less they emotionally need that constant social interaction.
Look, it's really not that they hate people or have cold hearts. It's just that their brains are actively craving depth. They're looking for rare, profoundly meaningful connections. I mean, think about how exhausting a room full of small talk can be. For them, that exhaustion is magnified 10 times over. When they're constantly subjected to the noise of shallow interactions, they get fundamentally mentally exhausted. Meaningful connection is rare, so rather than settling for surface-level chatter, they just prefer their own company.
Which brings us to Section 2, Seeing Through the Masks. You see, intelligent people are incredibly perceptive. They pick up on micro-behaviors that most of us just completely miss. Have you ever noticed a forced smile or totally fake energy in a room? They spot it instantly. They can pinpoint manipulation, hidden jealousy, and attention-seeking behavior in a heartbeat. Most people wear these social masks to pretend they're happy or confident. But once a highly observant mind sees human behavior that deeply, going to a simple social gathering stops being fun. It becomes emotionally draining because they're processing all these hidden layers of reality that everyone else is just blissfully ignoring. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer really hit the nail on the head here. He said, "Great minds are like eagles and build their nests in solitude." When highly intelligent people slowly reduce their social circle over time, it isn't born out of arrogance. Not at all. It's actually an act of emotional self-protection. They understand a very crucial truth. Not everyone deserves access to their energy. Moving on to Section 3, the power of silence.
Let's be honest, modern society is basically an all-out attack on silence. We're constantly bombarded by notifications, social media, endless entertainment, and just distractions. A lot of people are actually terrified of being completely alone with their own thoughts. But for the intelligent mind, their toolkit is completely different. They rely on silence, deep thinking, and uninterrupted focus. They use silence as fuel. They know for a fact that the brain only produces its most profound thoughts when all that external noise completely disappears.
Albert Einstein beautifully described this kind of evolution. He said, "I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in maturity." Growing up, having totally different interests and a different emotional depth than everyone around you feels incredibly alienating. It hurts to feel misunderstood. But as these individuals mature, they stop trying to explain themselves to a world that just isn't tuned to their frequency. That painful alienation transforms into a delicious, really empowering peace.
And that leads us to our final part, Section 4, Addicted to True Peace. While a massive chunk of the population spends their lives chasing popularity, desperately seeking temporary validation and attention, intelligent people eventually just stop caring about all that social approval. They realize attention is fleeting, but peace is invaluable. So instead of popularity, they chase freedom. They want freedom from fake relationships, freedom from emotional chaos, and freedom from unnecessary drama. They are incredibly careful about protecting their mental energy.
Because they're constantly overthinking and analyzing literally everything, from human intentions to future outcomes, they need what we can call an emotional reset button. They intentionally use solitude to mentally recover. Social interaction adds a massive amount of stimulation to a mind that's already in overdrive. So when they suddenly disappear from a social circle, people often think they're being cold or arrogant, but in reality, they're just hitting this emotional reset button to recover from the sheer volume of noise in the world.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to really reflect on. When you see someone standing far away from the crowd, keeping their circle small and their words carefully chosen, are they really lonely? Or are they just silent observers who finally managed to escape the noise? Intelligence completely changes your awareness, and once you deeply understand human behavior, you just can't unsee it. The smartest minds aren't lonely. They just understand the world too well and have intentionally chosen the beautiful, uninterrupted comfort of peace. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you a whole new perspective on the quietest people in the room.